that makes it very difficult to know who do we trust, because Willem Dafoe is giving his information changes all the time. We don't really get a handle on what's going on from him because his information changes from moment to moment. Our Pats, we're pretty sure, is going insane because he starts having dreams about mer women. He's jerking off in the boathouse, which I'll let you figure out what that means. Hello there, and welcome to another edition of Blockbuster Reviews, where I play a game of chill marathon for Tetris Effect, and during one playthrough, it's kind of hard, there's no game over, but I try to talk about a movie and review it to the best of my ability before I get the bricks all the way to the top, or until I score 150 lines. So, I mean, without further ado, let me just do it. I will say that tentatively the rule is no spoilers until I get to line 50. I might change that to about 75 because I get to line 50 pretty quick. And I don't say what the movie is until I see that 3, 2, 1. So let's give it a shot here. All right, so the movie The Lighthouse by Robert Eggers, starring Willie D's, Willem Dafoe, and Robert Pattinson, is a great, great film. Mostly because it's simple. And it's also so incredibly moody and slow and grabs your attention. Even though there's not much going on, you want to know what's going on. You want to have a better idea of what's happening in the world and in the movie itself. It's about two lighthouse keepers who have to take care of a lighthouse on an island, and I guess they do like 6-month tours, and one of the guys is new. That would be R. Patz's character, and he likes to keep to himself, doesn't like to talk much, and the other one, Willem Dafoe, is in the what are they called, behind the scenes featurettes, I guess you would call them. He's referred to as an old salt, an old seaman, get your chuckles in, who, you know, lives and dies by the sea, has nothing but stories about being on the sea and all that nonsense. And you find out slowly he's a bit of a hard ass, lighthouse keeper. He's on top of our Pats like a fucking college basketball coach, getting on his ass about every little thing. And what Robert Pattinson starts to notice, he never actually is allowed to look after the light of the lighthouse. He's doing all the shit work. He's cleaning out because this is an old story. I don't know what the year is, but it's old enough where guys could be all old salts, if you will, where they sing sea shanties and they deal with their problems by drinking, and that's like their medication. And drinking is a big theme in this story, where R. Pats in the beginning does not want to have anything to drink, and then he loosens up later in the story, which hopefully I can get to spoilerific to explain why that's important pretty soon. But the film starts to get a little weird, and you could even tell this by the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, where characters are starting to see things, and we don't know if these things are real. We can't really tell if they're a part of any of their reality. We don't know if they're dreams, perceptions of the other person, like how they see the person they're working with. You're also not 100% sure how they feel about each other sometimes. Their mood for each other seems to change quite a bit, and that could be the drinking. It could be just getting on each other's nerves because they're the only person that they see for months on end. There's a lot of ins and outs in terms of the movie, but that's what makes it so interesting. There are quite literally no other actors. There is one female actress who plays a, I guess that's spoiler territory. I shouldn't say it. Yes, I only got 4 lines to get to spoiler territory. So give me a few seconds here, and then I'll start to explain who that woman is. Boom, 50 lines. So she's like a mermaid, and All the other actors or actresses, they don't really have lines. They're just figments of the imagination of our Pats, who's starting to go crazy. And at least that's what you think is happening. You find out through dialogue, very well written, interesting, deep dialogue, that Arpats lied about who he is. He pretends that his name is Tom, which is the name of the same name as Willem Dafoe's character, a different last name, of course. But he actually assumed the name of Tom after he killed a man named Tom. After what you think is an accident, he explains it as an accident, but could also be part of a murder. There's a lot we don't know about the characters, and you just kind of have to pick up, like, you have to put pieces in yourself based on how they're acting. Wow, this is a poor display of Tetris. I am embarrassed for what I'm doing here. How do I get out of this hole is what some may wonder, and we'll see if I can do it. But in the meantime, and the imagery of the Lighthouse is made only better by the way it's shot. It's shot basically in square format on old, I don't know the specifics. Film nerds are gonna, take away my film cinema file card if they haven't already by talking about film while playing fucking Tetris. But they're gonna do it when I don't know what exactly it is that they shot it on, but every single frame looks like a black and white photograph. And the way they did it, I watched in the behind the scenes. I mean, very intensive in terms of lighting, very intensive in terms of blocking and whatnot, and claustrophobic in the nature of the lighthouse, because they had to build a lighthouse that these guys would have been in. All the clothing is period appropriate, which is what Robert Eggers, which I feel like I'm saying wrong every time I say it, even though I think that's how it's written, which he did on The Witch, which is another great movie that I liked a whole bunch. It wasn't so much scary as just like, holy shit, this movie's pretty sweet. But it does the same thing that The Witch does, at least in the beginning. Spoilers for The Witch. The Witch almost seemed like there was no fantastical element at all. It was just the paranoia of the super hyper religious, which I thought was a commentary on, religious persecution of people who think differently, more specifically the artistic, because this character who is curious and getting out there in nature, she keeps being punished by her family for exploring her curiosities. And then, but the end of the movie, she like straight up gives her soul to Satan. So it's kind of like Hereditary. Hereditary does the same switcheroo. Spoilers for Hereditary. And the Lighthouse sort of does that too, where the entire time I'm assuming that these characters are both unreliable narrators, because they're both drinking like fucking. At one point in the movie, they get stranded, and that's the really big reveal. They are not going to be picked up anytime soon because of a storm. So Willie D's is like, don't worry, I got supplies. And he goes and just finds a bunch of just alcohol. No food, no water. It's just straight alcohol. So these dudes just go on a fucking bender fest. I'm talking like the scariest thing ever, to just party in a storm while the building itself is falling apart because it wasn't made to withstand such a storm. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's thematic with what's going on with these characters and in the story, but that makes it very difficult to know who do we trust, because Willem Dafoe is giving his information changes all the time. We don't really get a handle on what's going on from him, because his information changes from moment to moment. Our Pats, we're pretty sure, is going insane because he starts having dreams about mer women. He's jerking off in the boathouse, which I'll let you figure out what that means, literally and figuratively. He's blaming all of it on the power of like a little wooden token of those things on the front of boats that I don't know the names of. Embarrassingly, he they get to points where they start to murder each other, and then they're like, okay, we cool, and just kind of laugh it off. It's hard to figure out where these dudes are at. And then the end of the movie, which I won't spoil the very end, but the end of the movie is a big what the fuck. So much so that I was like, okay, Reddit, explain the ending of this movie to me. And then once they did and explained some things about myths, I was like, oh shit, that movie's fucking rad if I knew what this myth was, and now that I do, the movie's rad. I can't let my ignorance dictate my feelings on the end of a movie. Once I understand the context of what's going on, yeah, this movie is quite awesome, quite seriously rad. And since I might, oh, dude. Oh my gosh, am I gonna lose it again? I lost the first one, I'm gonna lose the second one. Okay, all right, we're getting back on track. We're not gonna let this thing beat me again. We're not gonna do it. But the film is worth watching. I recommend it. It is scary, but it's much like Hereditary is fucking scary to me. I don't know. Call me a big old P, and you know what the P stands for, but I thought Hereditary was scary AF. And anyway, I don't. The score has nothing to do with The Lighthouse. Just go see The Lighthouse. I would give it an A. It's worth your time. It's worth a one watch. Go give it a watch and have yourself a good one. Peace.